are tuned in to Vital Perspectives. I'm your host, Marwin Spiller, and today's guest is General Parker, who is a community and civil rights activist, both locally and nationally. He's done a lot to advance the cause of African American people, lower income people, people of all sort of races, creeds, and religious backgrounds, all that. And today, we want to talk about a topic that is perhaps controversial to some, certainly has gained a lot of traction at the end of President Obama's presidency, and that is President Obama's legacy and his relationship to the African American community. I know that I have been critical in the past of some of President Obama's policies as it pertained to African Americans and the African American community. And I want just to have an open dialogue about what the president has accomplished over these last 8 years and what would be the lasting legacy on the African American community. I know that a number of your views have been somewhat controversial, but certainly been spot on in many instances in terms of your perspective of what's happening in our community. And so I want to start out by asking you to tell me a little bit about your background in terms of how did you get involved in serving the community?
I basically have been serving the community my entire life, ever since I was a young teen. I started here in Peoria working with the Northside Action Council under Senator Dave Kaler. He wasn't a senator at the time, but he's since become my godfather. And I was a community organizer with the Northside Action Council, and just from there, I've gone on different things throughout the state and throughout the nation. So I was this executive director of Illinois Fathers here in the state of Illinois, and we got legislation passed for non-custodial parents when the custodial parent interferes with visitation. So I've worked on the national scene with the National People's Action and Gamaliel. Those are community activist organizations, and Gamaliel is responsible for calling in Obama from New York to Chicago and training him to be an organizer. So I was part of that too. So
Okay. So you have a long resume.
yeah.
Okay. Well, before we came on air, I was talking about the list of President Obama's accomplishments, and certainly, as I look at the list of the top 50 accomplishments of this administration, at the top of that list is healthcare reform. Certainly, this administration is probably most celebrated for their accomplishment to pass healthcare, and you are very critical of that piece of legislation.
Right.
Can you tell us why?
You put me in a very precarious position here. In the black community, especially here in Peoria, there's two things you don't talk about, and that's Jesus and Barack Obama.
Oh,
So I think if anybody has a right to question the president, I definitely have earned that right because I was there with him from the beginning. So I got out here in Peoria, and I was soliciting signatures to get on his petitions. I ran as a delegate for him to the Democratic Convention. I was even called to even come down to Springfield and stand in line for him in the cold in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, till the election, the state election board opened up, to pass off the petitions with 55,000 signatures on it, and I went to Iowa every weekend, caucusing for him, and so if anybody got a right to question, I think I do, and gave money, and whenever they called me, in general, we need some ministers from down, state, can you bring them up here? So if anybody got a right to question them, I feel I do. So the health care, I don't think it goes far enough.
Okay.
If we really want to have true health care for everybody in America to where it wouldn't be costly. It would be the type of health care Bernie Sanders is shooting for now, and it would be a single payer system,
Hmm.
and they don't have that. That's what they should have had, and that's why you got like small business owners, and they can't afford to pay those premiums because a
Hmm.
lot of them don't really make a lot of. Some of them are like
Hmm.
they run a child care out of their home,
Hmm.
so they can't afford to have health care.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
um, if you don't have any job at all, well, you can get to Medicaid now. That's good for some, but then it's
Hmm.
going back onto the back of the middle class
Hmm.
because they have to work to pay for those.
Hmm.
So um, I I would rather he made it to where there was more blacks working, okay, and had jobs where they can afford to pay their own insurance
Hmm.
instead of trying to get on
Hmm.
welfare
Hmm.
and get. I mean, it's some because
Hmm.
if you don't have health care and no income, that's the best thing to do.
Hmm.
But it'd be better if people had good paying jobs,
Hmm.
jobs that paid a living wage,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
and that's why we're shooting. I'm part union too. I'm organized labor, so
Hmm.
we want to see the minimum wage up to $15 an hour.
Hmm.
Because wages and the minimum wage hasn't kept up with inflation. I mean, CEOs, their salaries done went up like 1,000%.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So you would have
ours has
preferred
stayed
like
stagnant.
a jobs bill. Um,
Jobs bill for sure.
and that's, I mean, you raise a good point because one of my perhaps big issues
Hmm.
with with this administration
Hmm.
is the fact that the nation's first African American president sort of is presiding over a black unemployment rate that has been double digits throughout his presidency, and we haven't seen
Right.
legislation or efforts to address that concern. Perhaps, with a good paying job comes with benefits,
There you
health
go.
insurance, as opposed to government-sponsored insurance.
There's people working 2 and 3 jobs now. They still got to get food stamps.
Hmm.
Okay, that don't make any sense.
Hmm.
And they like to tout that the nation's unemployment is 5% now. I think it was what 5.7 now,
Yes.
something like that.
Yeah.
But even when Bush was in office, I used to tell him, said you can't go by those numbers. That only counts the number of unemployment claims that's been filed.
Hmm.
That has nothing to do with the people who aren't allowed to get unemployment anymore.
Right. The
Okay, you
discouraged
know,
workers, people who have
right?
given up looking.
And it definitely doesn't say anything about the unemployment in the black community.
Hmm.
It's always been double digit. In some cities, it's 40%.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then when you got young kids that 16 to 24, uh, it's sometimes as much as 50 up to
Hmm.
60% in some cities. In Cleveland and Milwaukee.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
even in Chicago.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's bad that we had the first African American president, and a lot of people were going around saying, "This is our chance to get a black president in," you know. But then once he gets in and he doesn't do anything for black people, say, "Well, he's the president for all the people." But that ain't what they said when they were going around wanting you to vote for him.
Right.
See, so
Right.
if I had to vote for him because he's black,
Hmm.
but that's not why I voted for him.
Right.
But if you're going around and that's one of your selling points is because he'd be the first black president, then he need to make sure he takes care of black people.
Hmm.
You know, Too often, especially in his first administration and even the beginning of this administration, he he capitulated to the Republicans so often.
Hmm.
That even when we had a Democratic Senate and a Democratic House when he first got in,
Hmm.
nothing got done.
Hmm.
You know, the only thing that got done was the health care bill got passed during the lame duck session when he knew all the Tea Partiers were coming in.
Hmm.
And they changed the rules in the Senate for that. They went nuclear. So
Right. And to the argument that he did what he could, and the argument that to push a black agenda would not get past Congress, and it would he would spend too much political capital on a piece of legislation that would ultimately not get passed. What do you say to that?
it sounds like somebody who's more concerned with their own legacy than he is about the people that he was representing. You know, uh, it, to me, it's not cool to be black only when it's advantageous for you. You know,
And that's what you feel.
That's exactly what I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm black, so I can go and get a school loan so I can go to Harvard and stuff like that. But when you got black people coming to you while you have the most powerful position in the world, and I've always been told nothing beats a failure but a try. So it'd been different if he had attempted to do something for black people and then Congress just shut him down.
Right.
He never even tried. You know, as much as I despise Donald Trump, but when Donald Trump said, "Oh, he's been terrible for black people," Donald Trump told the truth. You know, so yeah, I hate that he's telling the truth.
Right. And how do you explain that?
How to explain?
The lack of policy, the lack of effort to address, some of those economic issues that.
The only
black
thing
communities-
I can say, because even when he was running, he disappointed me a couple times, because I've definitely been a staunch supporter of fathers and fatherhood and fathers' rights, and he came out on Father's Day, and he's done that 2 or 3 years in a row. He'd come out on Father's Day, on a day when fathers should be celebrated, and he falls in line with these radical feminists, and put fathers down, especially black fathers. Talking about we've been acting like little boys instead of men, going around playing video games and instead of doing what we're supposed to do it. And I'm like, wow, I don't even know how to play a video game, and I'm still supposed to support you, And I was a delegate for him then. But I said, well, maybe if I could just get in to talk to him and speak to him, then he'll find out exactly what's going on. But there's been studies that came out. There was a Harvard study and a University of Chicago study that came out and said that black fathers, in spite of what's been said and what's in the media and the stereotypes, they're the most nurturing fathers of any group. Whites, Asians, Hispanics, any group you come across here in America, they said black fathers are the most nurturing. Now those aren't my words. That's
Right.
the Harvard study. Those are their words, and the University of Illinois in Chicago.
Yeah.
So if their study is saying that we're the most nurturing, then where's Obama getting this stuff about black fathers? He's watching too much TV.
There's an unfair criticism.
Unfair.
Okay. I got some other issues I want to get into, but I want to take a break and come back to address the issue of unemployment locally.
Okay.
Gospel Peoria. Tune in Saturday nights at 7:30 on Comcast Cable Channel 22. Watch revealing positive information with various topics, people, and arts. Also, be sure to visit our Gospel Peoria TV Facebook and YouTube channel, where you can watch show segments, information, and updates about the program. That's Gospel Peoria TV on Comcast, Saturdays at 7:30 p.m., Channel 22. Now that's television with an innovative touch.
Welcome back. You're tuned in to Vital Perspectives. I'm your host, Dr. Marwin Spiller, and we're here today with General Parker, and we're talking about the very controversial issue of President Obama's legacy. Now, before the break, we were talking about some of the policies or lack thereof as it pertained to African American unemployment. And certainly nationally, we know the numbers don't look good.
Right.
Locally here in Peoria, being the home of Caterpillar and other sort of major industrial powerhouses, I want to get your thoughts on that scene, particularly in light of the realities that we are facing as a nation, a change in economy.
Right.
The manufacturing base no longer exists.
Right.
Many jobs have been either downsized, automated, moved overseas, so forth. And so to talk about what a jobs build would look like that would really have an impact on the African American community, given the realities in the communities of skill sets, levels of education, cultural capital, all those things, what could President Obama have done differently?
Well, You remember when he first got in office, President Obama came to Peoria to visit Caterpillar. That was the time I was running for mayor at that time. I wasn't invited, but he came here, and the CEO of Caterpillar told him if he passed this stimulus bill, you know, uh, that they wouldn't lay off any workers, and they would. I can't remember the other thing, but I remember that specifically. And he he went ahead and passed the stimulus bill, and Caterpillar didn't keep their word.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just like when they bailed out Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, Wall Street and these guys, all these Fortune 500 companies and stuff, they keep getting bailed out, but the Main Street people keep getting sold out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and one thing he can do, I felt he should have did, especially being an African American president. But he probably doesn't share the same values we do because, see, his father was not a product of the Middle Passage.
Mm-hmm.
See, so he may have a different mentality as far as what goes on with blacks here in America. But you got to look at the fact that for over 400 years, there was special conditions and special treatment, negative treatment toward black people,
Mm-hmm.
okay, to help keep us down.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was education,
Mm-hmm.
working, socially, whatever it was, there were special rules, laws, and regulations to keep black people down, okay? Now, I grew up learning that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no way that you can have a special anti-black mentality in this country for over 400 years
Mm-hmm.
and then say, okay, well, let's just forget about it and everything's all right. You'd have to have a special treatment. You'd have to have a special condition to help black people
Mm-hmm.
to equal that out. Because, see, if you do that, we back here 400 years, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You got white supremacy was here 400 years in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
If we still going at the same pace, keeping it even, we still behind.
Okay.
So there's got to be a special effort to help black people, since
Okay.
there was a special effort to keep black people down.
Okay.
See, and that's why you still have unemployment for black people that's in double digits. That's why, especially with black men, we're the least likely to go to college
Mm-hmm.
or to even graduate from college.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
when you look at that and you look at over the years, I mean, even like I said, I'm in organized labor.
Mm-hmm.
There was a special effort after slavery ended, okay, within the unions to keep black people out of the unions.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So this notion that a rising tide will lift all boats is just you don't buy that argument, and so that certainly this president has made a concerted effort to advance sort of these colorblind policies, universal policies that are not necessarily race targeted, but would help all groups. But you're saying that it don't
Well, see, the
close the
funny
gap.
thing is, he only wants to help all groups whenever black folks confront him.
Mhm.
See, the Congressional Black Caucus, other organizations, when they come to him, now he wants to be colorblind, and he's got to help all people. And that's his patent answer is, well, I'm the president of all people. But when the LGBT crowd went to him, and first he was against gay marriage, then he's for gay marriage, okay? When the Jews go to him, the Hispanics or immigration, every other special interest group that went to him before, and he never told them, well, I can't do that because I got to be the president for everybody. I just can't, sign legislation or lobby just for your issue. He never told them that, but when black folks go in there, that's his patent answer, so that's his default answer. And it's our fault for accepting this,
Right.
He gets up and do a eulogy and sing Amazing Grace or want to do Al Green for his wife or dance and stuff, then we're happy. We're
Right.
complacent.
Right.
I'm not happy with that because I've been out here fighting. I would go to Chicago every weekend and I would help out with the Black Star Project up there, because they got young boys killing themselves at record numbers.
Right.
Okay. The kids aren't being educated. I would go up there and help mentor, and I would drive this and spend my own money every weekend. driving 165, 170 miles to go there to help the kids in Chicago. You know, we were mentoring kids here. They stopped that program. You know, and it, too many of us dying. Too many of us don't have a good education. Too many of us out here starving. Too many fathers, black fathers, being taken out of the home and being marginalized. And we need a special effort to help us out from somebody in the capacity of a Barack Obama, because he has the power.
Right.
Now, he's written certain laws and made executive orders for other issues that Congress still fought him on. Why couldn't he do something for the black community?
Yeah. And do you buy the argument that President Obama is a politician, in many respects a mainstream politician, and given that he's a mainstream politician operating within a democratic system, that there's a process, and with that, the black community haven't really asked anything of him. They haven't asked for a jobs bill. They haven't demanded, and we have a system where you have to ask the gay and lesbian community. They demand it.
I think there's been several people that spoke out. You got Michael Eric Dyson, you got Cornel West, you've got Tavis Smiley. As a matter of fact, on my website, I have a Facebook page with like almost 300,000 followers, you know, called Urban Intellectuals. And we've been very critical of the president, you know, but we always gave him his due when he did good things. But why you have to wait till the last year or two to start wanting to make it look like he's doing some things for black folks? And even some of the stuff that he did do, just like this Brothers Keepers initiative he has going now, that it sounds good on the surface, but with organizations I know that's been there doing it all along, like Black Star Project up in Chicago, what's happening is the people who were sponsoring them and were helping them have taken that money from those organizations and he putting it into my Brother's Keepers initiative, and that money is not getting down there reaching the people that really need it. You know, so like I said, it sounds good on the surface. There's a lot of things that sound good, you know, but are really good when you really look at the devils that's in the details. So.
And I think that's one of the sort of the conundrums, it seems to me, about President Obama's relationship with the African American community, in that, I mean, how do we hold him accountable, but yet support him given the Republican backlash, you know, to Donald Trump's, who not feeding into that, but yet hold him accountable? Has that sort of stymied any kind of efforts to change? Because, I mean, certainly to really push change, I mean, we have to acknowledge the shortfalls. We have to be critical, but it seems like that's one of the things that the community have not been as a whole really critical of him to hold him accountable. You think that's our fault in many ways?
It's our fault to a certain extent. I do believe that, because like I said, as a people we get complacent, and I fight and have to argue with more of my people about this issue, and a lot of times they want to put the blame on black people, they want to put the blame on black kids, and I'm like, really?
He's the leader.
Yeah, he's the leader, you know, and the teachers are the teachers, and I don't understand it. I mean, you act like everything, we were always on a level playing field from the beginning, you know, and it never was so. So if all things being equal, and if it was a perfect world and we all started from the same position, you know, you might have an argument, but that's not the case in the black community. And the president has been more concerned with being well liked and being he, for lack of a better word, I'm saying he was afraid to do things for black folks for fear of how that might make him look, you know. So
does that, I mean, are you surprised by that, given the, I mean, because certainly that reflects the racial climate in America, which would, you know, given his wide support even within the white community, you would think that the country was now ready for those kind of changes, but the a black president into office and not support changes to affect racialized communities? What
See,
does that say about
Yeah,
America?
because of our condition,
Hmm.
you know, and especially with the older group, you know, they were just so happy to see a black president in office before they died.
Hmm.
You know, that that was enough for them.
Hmm.
You know, but I remember I'm a Detroit fan. You know, so Detroit Pistons. First time they went with Isaiah to the finals,
Hmm.
and they lost that year. But I remember Isaiah saying, Kevin McHale told him, say, hey man, you know, this can't be enough just to go there. You know, you got to go there and win. See, we got to quit being happy with getting to the finals. You know,
Yeah.
we got to get a mindset that we need to win. You know, we got to be able to handle prosperity, and when we got somebody in office like that, you know, it ain't no matter of who do you think you are to be questioning him and all that. You know, I'm somebody that voted for him.
Right.
So I got a right to question him.
Mhm.
You know, if I don't think you're doing what you said you were going to do, I got to hold you accountable.
Right.
It ain't just enough just to vote.
Right.
You know, we got to start holding people accountable.
We got to vote. We can't just celebrate. It's a pretty family.
And then when things don't go, we got to act. I mean, there's groups around here that didn't like the Don't Shoot program. There's groups around here that was being upset with the police brutality and a lot of things that's going on with the school district and stuff like that. But you know, like I said, I'm with the CBTU, the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists. I'm the president of Central Illinois CBTU, and I was there for the October Ferguson rally they had in St. Louis. You know, that whole weekend we did actions. They laid out in the streets.
Yeah.
They stopped traffic. They closed down buildings. They closed down the city hall. Until you start doing stuff like that, instead of sitting back and complaining, it said if you want something you never had, you're gonna have to do something you never done.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Well, we're unfortunately out of time. We still have much to discuss, and we definitely will have a part 2. You've been tuned in to Vital Perspectives. Our guest, General Parker, and your host, Dr. Marwin Spiller. Thank you for tuning in.
thank you.